There is a consensus that global warming is bad, but of course that's here on Earth. When we talk about Mars, global warming is necessary. With Spacex pushing forward on Starship, the presence of humans on Mars grows closer. And of course, a colony on the Red Planet will begin small. But as soon as humans are there, the issue of terraforming will appear. But what's wrong with Mars? For humans, Mars is too cold, too dry, bombarded by radiation, and has virtually no atmospheric pressure. If any of those problems is fixed, it will have a favorable impact on the population. If the planet is warmed, thermal insulation can be less, making suits more comfortable and habitats easier to build. If water is released into the atmosphere, it will be easier to grow things and to collect water. If the radiation is less, the shielding can also be less. If atmospheric pressure could be raised, it would make suits more comfortable. And if the pressure was enough, and the temperature was raised at the same time, we could be walking around Mars in conventional clothing with just an oxygen breather. Should terraforming begin before humans arrive? This is not a matter of time. Beginning a terraforming process 100 years before or later will not make any difference, but issues like temperature and atmospheric pressure will be discussed. As I mentioned, if Mars had more atmospheric pressure and a milder climate, the cost of building will decrease and quality of life of the colonists will improve significantly. I have watched several terraforming videos and read a lot of papers. You always hear or see the phrase, when the technology becomes available. Well, one of these technologies has been made available. The first issue that didn't allow the beginning of the process is temperature. Mars is simply too cold for plants. All they need is CO2, water, and nutrients, but they can't survive the cold. But now there's artificial photosynthesis. The new artificial photosynthesis approach uses sunlight to turn carbon dioxide into methane, which will also help increase the greenhouse effect in Mars and warm the planet. Methane is 30 times more active than CO2 as a greenhouse gas. Also, it is less dense than CO2, therefore it will migrate to the top of the atmosphere, shrouding the planet like a greenhouse cover. The methane generating method is made possible by a new catalyst developed through collaboration among the University of Michigan, McGill University, and McMaster University. A paper on the findings is published in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. The solar-powered catalyst is made from abundant materials and works in a configuration that could be mass-produced. The device can be designed to run under solar power alone, or the methane production can be amped up with a supplement of electricity. Alternatively, running on electricity, the device could potentially operate in the dark. In practice, the artificial photosynthesis panel would need to be connected to a source of concentrated carbon dioxide. But in Mars, the atmosphere is almost fully made of carbon dioxide. So, build them on Earth, send them to Mars, deploy a few acres of them, and wait. How effective is this system in converting CO2 to methane? Listen to this. According to the researchers, and I quote, "In practice, the artificial photosynthesis panel would need to be connected to a source of concentrated carbon dioxide. For example, carbon dioxide capture from industrial smokestacks. That is a massive flow. Industrial stacks have flows of hundreds of thousands to millions of cubic feet per hour. If they are not bluffing, we're talking tons of methane per minute. And as soon as the percentage of methane in the Martian atmosphere increases, the temperature will begin to rise. If the temperature rises, water will begin to evaporate, and water vapor is the largest contributor to the greenhouse effect. On average, it probably accounts for about 60% of the warming effect in an atmosphere. However, water vapor does not control the temperature, but is instead controlled by the temperature. This is because the temperature of the surrounding atmosphere limits the maximum amount of water the atmosphere can contain. In the paper, Supersaturated Water Vapor in Martian Atmosphere, I quote this one, "Contrary to previous belief, the researchers discovered that water vapor supersaturation is a frequent phenomenon on Mars. They even observed very high levels of supersaturation in the Martian atmosphere, up to 10 times greater than those found on Earth. This ability of water vapor to exist in a highly supersaturated state would, for example, allow to supply the southern hemisphere of Mars with water, far more efficiently than models currently predict. This is pointed out by Frank Modmanson, a CNRS researcher at LATMOS and SPIAM project leader. This might create a runaway effect and warm the atmosphere sooner than expected. Now, with warmer planetary climate and free water in the atmosphere, it would be possible to introduce some plants. As soon as the temperature begins to rise, the atmosphere, which is not dense at all, will allow the evaporation or sublimation of water. This in turn will contribute to more warming, which will evaporate more water, and so on. CO2, to the dismay of climate change activists on Earth, is not as good a greenhouse gas when compared to methane and water. After a while, Mars will have hail or snow, and a water cycle will be created in the atmosphere. Now the last question. Is there life on or inside Mars? Will warming Mars wake up some hibernating or cryogenically preserved life form? This is pure speculation. But on Earth, researchers in a warming Arctic are discovering organisms, frozen and presumed dead for millennia, and these organisms can bear life anew. These Ice Age zombies range from simple bacteria to multicellular animals, and their endurance is prompting scientists to revise their understanding of what it means to survive. If we warm up Mars, we will find out. So, before Elon Musk sends 10,000 nuclear warheads into Mars, he might want to take a look at this technology.